2 weeks ago, we didn't think we were going to be doing kind of video like this. We honestly thought we were going to be working on other projects that we felt were a little more exciting. But sometimes you get served a big old piece of humble pie. A good friend of the shop, somebody all of them in here know and like, took turn 6 at Pacific Raceways in this thing, doing about 70 miles an hour. The good thing is he walked out, no harm, no foul. The downside is a car that he spent several years building and constantly developing had come to an end of its racing life. That's where common sense and gratefulness that you worked hard to make a car that was safe and you have good track officials that make sure your car is safe comes into place. This is a lot why we always preach about safety, safety, and then safety. There's no point in going fast if you can't stop fast. There's no point in any of that if you're not going to survive in the event of a crash. But the person who owns this car has probably got the most optimistic personality you ever met in your life. He's a very reasonable person, and he knows what it takes to build stuff. So, after the accident happened, it was decided, what do we do from here? It wasn't, do we quit racing? The frustrations of racing didn't catch up to him. That was never in question. It was just simply, what do we do from here? And we decided that we will save this car, but it's not going to return to the track. It is a 69. The 69 in the States is a very, very important car because of its limited availability here. So we decided to do something different. We sourced another car. The step nose that you saw in the opening shot. It was 1,000 miles away. It was reasonable monies. This is where how you live and who you know comes into play. The person who owned it, very sensible and reasonable person, decided it was an excellent opportunity to get this car, so that's exactly what we did. So we made a 1,000-mile road trip. We went and picked it up and brought it back. So what we're going to do is we're going to transfer most of the race bits on this car onto that car, but every part coming off of here is going to get inspected thoroughly. We can't be a stronger advocate for safety, and this is exactly why. Your street car, you probably wouldn't be able to get out of and shake it off like he did if you hit something at 70 miles an hour. We're blessed that it worked out for him. But on the lighter note, the guys are excited about getting involved, and we're going to contribute as much as we can, and we're going to transfer every part on this car that we can onto the new car. But we're also going to take advantage of having a fresh start to put in some of our evolutionary parts that we've learned along the way that are better. So stay tuned on that. But for now, if you think the track officials are too harsh on the safety of your car, this is exactly why they're so adamant about the integrity of your vehicle. 70 miles an hour is not a joke. That is an awful lot of force that you're bringing to a complete halt in a matter of a few feet. Alright. This thing's so crushed that the radiator's pushed up against the block, so right now we're just trying to create some space so we can actually get the motor out of this car. That's max?
Yeah.
Alright, let's depress. One more. All right, stop. That is a lot of stored up energy. Go. Okay. So close. I don't want to scratch the paint. position. Alright. Here you go, Dave. You can fix it. Go ahead. See how much it locked up? There you go. There. You want to get an Allen on that so we can see it. You got the radiator out. And we still need a whole lot more clearance because right now the sway bar is resting up against the oil pan. A lot of collateral damage. This bag all that thrown in the driver's compartment. Okay, I'm going to start hammering on this while you do that. Were we fully extended on the ramp at this point?
I'm not sure.
So give me some tension and I'm going to get the heck out of the way. Alright. Now, this is where you need to be behind the tire. Alright, go ahead. Wow. We now created enough clearance on the sway bar that the motor actually moved in rotation because it was stuck in the middle of a compression stroke. That is one locked up situation. Okay, go ahead. Okay, we're max. Well, we did create some space, but we need a lot more. What's incredible about this is we cut out all this so the motor can actually come out of here. But the interior structure of this is so driven back that the sway bar is still pressed up against the oil pan. It just goes to show you how much energy is tied into this right now. Now in the earlier footage when you saw this car on the frame rack, you saw an awful lot of movement that was rebounding. The reason it is because the actual car wasn't anchored to the frame rack. What we were doing, we were just merely pulling the front so we can get access to the motor. It takes quite a bit of time to set up a car onto the frame rack, making it absolutely squared. We're not even so certain that the chassis is completely square on this just yet. So there was no need to spend that kind of time just to create effectively a space where we can cut this thing open to have access to the motor. When we do take this back to the frame rack and start to cut and shape this front end, it will be fully anchored to the rack. I only bring that up because it looks rather exaggerated on film. So it's just something to know. When you see this thing go back to the rack, when we start to rebuild this car, you'll notice there will be no wheels. It'll be completely tied down to the rack so it can't move. And at that point, you'll get a lot more movement out of the metal. All the metal that was down here was pushed up against the crank so tightly that when we were finally able to free it up, the motor turned on its own because it was stuck in the middle of a compression stroke. That gives you an idea how quickly this car came to a complete halt, to whereas the motor couldn't even stop under normal conditions. Crashes are violent. They're absolutely violent. And again, we're really, really happy that our favorite guy here was able to get out of this car and not think twice about it.
Darren and Dave's big road trip south, Mount Shasta, scene 1, take 1, Mount Shasta and the driver. So far, so good. Going splendidly, on road, 7.5 hours. Do you have anything to say, driver?
Yes, in the attempt of resurrecting Dave's racing career, 8 hours into our 12.5-hour drive, we're on the road to go getting his new race car, the new and improved race car. Dave turned his previous race car into the letter U, and now we're going to go get him another one, so hopefully he can keep that in the letter I.
Now back to the scenery. Let's not mention that again. Big mountain. See ya.
We have separation. Inboard, downboard, they're on. Coming forward with the side stick. Looks good. I've got a blowout, neighbor 3. Pitch the 0. Pitches out, direction elbow. So I'm tracking like this direction. Hold on, I keep breaking up.
Steve Austin, astronaut, a man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man. Steve Austin will be that man. Better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.